Hello guys. Welcome back to AS7 Film Review. In this video I will review a film called Queen of Hearth. This Danish film was directed by L0ve and starring Trine Dyrholm and Gustav Lind. No need to linger anymore. Let's just watch the plot of the film. But before that, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to this channel, so that you all don't miss the latest videos from us. Sekidot. The story will focus on a middle-aged woman named Anne. Anne is a famous lawyer who has a husband named Peter. Her husband is a doctor by profession, and she also has two daughters, both of whom are twins. One morning, Anne and her husband were arguing. At that time, Anne wanted to bring one of her clients to live in their house. Can't accept Anne inviting her client to live with them. One morning, Anne had a guest named Gustav. Gustav was the son of her husband, who came from a previous marriage, or we could say that Gustav was Anne's stepdaughter. His father and stepmother were in Denmark for some time, because he had problems with his previous school due to his delinquency, so he had to be transferred to a school not far from where his father lived. An awkward atmosphere ensued in the house, where Gustav didn't really like his stepmother, and vice versa. Anne didn't really accept Gustav to live with them. So Anne told all the complaints about her dislike of Gustav to her sibling named Lena. One day Anne found Gustav's adult storybook in his room, and he warned Gustav that the book was not suitable for him, so that made Gustav a little annoyed. After that, he also saw his husband arguing with Gustav, who started showing bad attitudes at home. So one morning, at their house there was a theft case, where the theft managed to escape Anne's bag, wallet and iPad. But an odd thing happened when Anne found a keychain in Gustav's pants pocket. Anne found the coat hanger in front of her house, and she put it the hanger was put into her bag which had been stolen. But apparently the hanger was found again in Gustav's pants pocket. This made Anne believe that Gustav was the perpetrator of the theft at her house, and there was a debate between them. With her mature attitude, Anne did not report it to her husband because she was afraid that her husband would scold Gustav later. The relationship between Gustav and Anne and their children seems to be getting closer and closer, and he starts to love them by inviting him to play, bathe together in the river and read fairy tales before bed to his half-sister. This makes Anne start to be nice to Gustav. With their closeness now, they have created the seeds of love in Anne's heart. Then the scene shows Peter and Anne with their friends, Peter of the same profession, gathering and drinking beer together at their house. Anne looks bored with their chat. She tries to release boredom by turning on music and dancing in order to lure them to stop that boring chat. But they didn't care about Anne. Anne decided to sit alone under her house. Not long after that, Gustav came over to Anne, and Anne invited Gustav to go have a drink at the bar. At the bar, so they talk to each other. Day after day they always do it by planting crops at home or in the forest. Anne was addicted to the forbidden relationship. Until finally, at the birthday party of her twin daughters, Anne, who at that time wanted to get water to refill the water gun, was a birthday present, years of his daughter, suddenly approached by Gustav, who was passionate in public. When they kissed, Lena's sister accidentally caught them both, and after that Lena left them both full of disappointment. Anne was angry with Gustav, because he couldn't contain his lust. He tried to end their illicit relationship, until this condition frustrated Gustav and started to look strange, until he climbed a tree and made him fall from the tree. Then he instead tricked his father, and the people there, by pretending to be sick, and then suddenly he laughed. This made his father angry because Gustav messed up the birthday party. The next day, Peter decided to invite Gustav to stay at his villa in Sweden, to talk to him alone, and to find out what Gustav had experienced that made him always behave strangely. After returning from Sweden, Peter told Anne that Gustav was going to live in his new school dormitory. And Peter also found out that his wife had a relationship with his son, because Gustav had told him about his father. But Anne was already embarrassed, and was afraid that her husband would think bad to him. He didn't admit his relationship with Gustav. and instead cornered Gustav and his husband. Until finally she managed to trick her husband, and made her husband not trust Gustav anymore. Finally Gustav returned to his school dormitory. He was escorted by his father, because Anne didn't allow him to live with their family anymore. But a few days later Gustav came to Anne's office, with the intention of asking Anne to be honest with her husband, about the illicit relationship that was happening they've been through. It was done to improve his good relationship with his father. But Anne still insisted on keeping their relationship a secret, and would not tell her husband about it. After a few days later, at midnight Gustav came to Anne's house, with the intention of meeting her father, and explaining everything that happened. But at that time Peter was fast asleep. Anne was trying to pit Gustav against his father, until he thought that his father didn't want him anymore. And Anne managed to get rid of Gustav before things got worse. Until one day, Peter got a call from his ex-wife, that Gustav's whereabouts are unknown at this time. And he hasn't been to school for a long time. And after that Peter got information from the Swedish police, that Gustav's son was there. And Peter immediately hurried there. After returning from Sweden, Peter told Anne that Gustav had died, from freezing to death and being buried in snow for months. When he headed to his father's villa to go rest, Anne, who felt sorry for her actions, could not contain her sadness because of the loss of her figure, Gustav. And the film closes by showing Anne and her family on the way to Gustav's funeral. The meaning that can be taken from this film is that if we dare to do something, we must also dare to be responsible for something we have done. And don't pass our mistakes on to others. Thank you for watching this film. Don't forget to like, comments and subscribe to this channel so that all of you can watch the latest videos from us.